Welcome, welcome. You're joined by Cam and Rich, and we're going to tackle the NBA preseason. Well, I wouldn't say preseason. It is preseason, but the regular season predictions. That's what we're going to tackle. See where maybe our favorite teams end up. And hopefully by the end of the year, they are there. Rich, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. Over the years, we've had many pods on and off together. You've come on as guests to try to save a pod that I was doing with somebody else. You were the note and stats guy on my original pod that I tried
Yep.
to start out of high school, and then people didn't want to go to the studio, different type of things. So finally, we landed on something that we could both agree on and both lead, and it's the Too Generic Pod. And a quick joke, and it's a little bit of a meme to it, but why not? So it's too generic. Everyone has this running joke that NBA players just pick some generic white guy, and it's an NBA player and a generic white guy, and they just talk NBA. Here, we're bringing you two generic white guys, no NBA player. We'll see how it goes.
No NBA player.
No NBA player. So uh, let's let's go right into it.
Okay.
I think we should just jump to the miscellaneous section for the time being.
All right.
So with the miscellaneous, let's talk about players to be traded by the deadline. And
Okay.
we'll each list we can rattle off a few players. Do you have any that you want to start off? You
Well, I
want to
think
see him moved?
well, I think two obvious ones that'll be on the trade block are probably Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, and they've been it's been a couple years now since they've been talking about them possibly getting traded. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, and if the Bulls try to blow up that team, even trade maybe Nikola Vucevic as well. It'll be a
Hmm.
Kobe White led team.
Okay.
I don't know if any Bulls fans would like that, but that might be the way it is. And then for the Pacers, they've been talking about trading Buddy Hield and Miles Turner for a long time now. So we'll see what happens with that. It seems like it'll be more likely that Buddy Hield to get traded over Miles Turner. So those would be my four guys right now. And then obviously we got to see what happens with James Harden as well.
James Harden. All right. So that's your five. Here we'll extend. I think I have to extend this a little bit.
Master spreadsheet.
Master spreadsheet. I mean, it stretches this out, so I'm definitely not the master of spreadsheets just yet. But I
You're
do
getting
see
there
something there.
in due
So
time.
you picked some cluster players. I noticed. So you have from the Bulls. You got two players from the Bulls, two players from Indy. I have two players from another team in the East that I think is going to potentially get blown up pretty soon.
Okay.
So I'm going to put Jarrett Allen, and I'm also going to put Donovan Mitchell
Mm,
into my potentially tradeds. It
I
was a
like it.
very interesting pick with the James Harden. And that was one I was thinking about just slotting in there because he's just always in these trade talks.
You could put him there every year now.
Exactly. You
So
you could put him there every year. So I'm gonna add also. I hope this is the right Bojan Bogdanovich, right? Not Bogdan. Bogdan's with the Hawks. So
yeah,
Bojan with the Pistons has been in the rumor mills for like 2 to 3 years. I want to say. He got traded there, but immediately as he got traded there, everyone was saying this is a trade piece. This is
yeah,
just contract filler. This is so they don't have to pay up to reach to the cap because there is a cap ceiling and there also is a cap floor. So like
right.
OKC last year didn't have enough people on contract to even reach their floor. So what happens from there is, let's say you have 15 players on contract and you're 15 million short under the floor. Each player gets an extra 1 million bonus at the end of the season last day right before the cap fills. So
Okay.
it's I've heard people call it NBA socialism. And there's a few teams who essentially have been running like that where they try to get their cap so low that essentially they're paying their players small amounts of money. They fall under the cap and then every player on the team gets a bonus, and it's also a little bit of a payoff because if your entire team is paid below the cap, that means your entire team isn't negotiating big contracts. Your team isn't that good. So this is kind of like a little incentive to tank. I've always seen it that way is,
Right.
if you're below the floor, most likely your team's not good. And the team will just, it's a young team taking lumps. They might be getting 3-4 million a year depending on the player, who it is. This way, they get a nice little check at the end of the year. So shout out to the NBA socialism teams, helping people out, helping the little guy. But so I got Bojan, I got two players from the Cavs. I should go out west with my next pick, right? So
Sure. Why not?
I'm gonna hmm. I don't know if I should do this. It's gonna be Paul George.
I can see it. I can see it.
He just got a new podcast. He's changing his life around. He's doing new things. It sounds like he's about to do some new things. I got a
Yeah,
hunch.
I can definitely see that.
Like he could go to a lot of places and just fill in. You know what I'm saying? Like if the
Yeah,
potentially like the Cavs make a move, they could land Paul George. Then you have
and
a
they
wing.
yeah, and they've also been talking about James Harden wanting to go to the Clippers. So I don't see how all four of those players stay together: Harden, Westbrook, Kawhi, and Paul George. So what if Paul George went to Philly? I think that'd be a win for Philadelphia.
Yeah,
So
Paul George in Philly. But I will say Tobias Harris, remember what he said? You don't trade a wing and get another 40% wing back. So
right,
as long as they're not trading Tobias Harris,
I would
they
want to get
get
rid of
Paul
that
George,
contract though.
and then you get Paul George and Tobias Harris on the same team, which I think is pretty good because they play close to the same position but not the same role. Like they don't overlap in what they do.
Yeah,
That's why Jared Allen is on my top traded list because he overlaps with what Evan Mobley does. Like Evan Mobley's a 4, but is he? Or
yeah,
like he's athletic enough to guard fours and do his thing,
and his
but
wingspan's crazy.
yeah, his wingspan's crazy, crazy athlete. But let's be real here. He's a 7-footer and he's a big. He's an inside scorer. He's a paint beast. Like
Yeah,
that's where he stays. He stays in the paint, and then he taps his foot on the corner so he doesn't get the 3-second call, and then he goes back into the paint. Like this is the guy who that's how he plays, and that's
yep,
just who he is. And I don't think that's wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not saying, Shaq. Oh, he could only score in the paint. Of course, he was unstoppable, and so is Evan Mobley at certain times. I mean, he's not Shaq, but this is what I'm saying. Like he's an inside scorer, and I'm not knocking him for being an inside scorer. But let's be
right,
real here. You can't have Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen next to each other for the next 5 years and expect success. It's not going to happen. You have two non-shooters, and then you also have overlap in the guard position. Donovan Mitchell didn't want to go to Cleveland. He wanted to go to New York, mainly the Knicks, but maybe would even take a Brooklyn spot. He's going to be
yep,
gone in a year, from what I'm understanding. You trade him now when he has a little bit of value. He's essentially a rental. The same thing Kawhi did. Got traded to Toronto and won in that 1 year. Proved himself. Got a big deal. Went wherever the hell he wanted to go. I think Donovan Mitchell is in the same spot. Whether he goes to a New York team this season, I believe he will go to a New York team in the future. So this is the rental year. If Miami needs to take a swing this year,
ooh,
go for it. You know,
that would
but
be that
you
would be
might have
something.
you might have to drop something in the
Yeah,
process, though. You might have to get rid of a Caleb Martin and some cap filler. Kyle Lowry will go in there. He'll back up Garland, show Garland more of the ropes of being a small guard and what it takes, be a good veteran there. Like there's a path to where this actually goes, and I like
right.
it.
I
And then
see
I
that.
added Jeremy Grant right at the end because Portland is in no man's land. They're not going anywhere but the bottom of the standings. And Jeremy Grant's a great player. I think he's a top 3 defensive power forward in the league. You got Giannis, you have Anthony Davis, Evan Mobley, I guess, but like I said, he's more of a center to me. He's a 5 in my eyes. And then
Yep,
you have Jeremy Grant, and there's no way he should be on the worst team in the league. There's just no way. Like, I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right. I think it's a complete waste of talent if Jeremy Grant is stuck on Portland by the end of the season. So my theory is he's gone. Someone moves heaven on earth just to get Jeremy Grant because it could be
Yeah,
real
he could
positive.
really help a contender.
Yeah, he's gonna really help a contender. You know what I'm saying? There's a few contenders. Now I guess we could go into the contender list. Rich, do you want to start off the top? Then maybe we could tap back into where these players could eventually plug into.
Yeah, just real quick, I see your screen is frozen again.
My camera?
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you. Just keep an eye on it. You know my camera's been wonky today. Trying to get it right. Oh, I went green for a second and then it
I
went
know
out.
you went. Yeah, you went green before we started too. I was like, what is
Like,
going on?
what is
What
happening with
kind of
this
lights do
camera?
you have on here?
Nothing. I got this one lamp on and some just light, just natural light coming from the windows. Oh yeah, new studio guys. Just moved to Los Angeles, so this is my living room, and this is kind of what you're seeing. I'm gonna get some dividers, and then I'm gonna put like posters behind it. You won't even realize where I am soon. But I'm gonna get that right, and then also I'm gonna get a new camera soon too, because if it just keeps doing this and cutting off, I don't understand why it's doing it. I've troubleshooted it. I've done everything. So if it freezes, bear with me. Put it in the comment section. King Neptune, what's good? How you doing, brother? I just read the comment section. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. But yeah, we're going live talking about the regular season, where people are going to end up at the end of the season and what awards they're going to get. And do you want to kick off the standings?
Yeah. So what do you want me to do? Like the top five?
Yeah, we'll do our top 5s and
Okay.
then maybe right there we could even find in some spots to where a team could fill their void and be an even better
Right.
squad.
All right. So for the Eastern Conference, the Celtics, obviously they're going 98-0. So
98 and 0. Okay.
obviously going to be number one. Then I got Milwaukee Bucks number two with that new duo. Then
Okay.
I still like the Cavaliers, even though they got, kicked out in the first round after only 5 games against the Knicks. I still like the
Mhm.
Cavaliers. Um, we don't really know what's going on with the whole James Harden situation, but I still have the 76ers as a 4 seed. They still have last year's MVP in Joel Embiid. They still got Tyrese Maxey, who he can go off. And I think James Harden may be holding him back a little bit. So I think Maxey can really have a big season. You have Tobias Harris, a very efficient scorer.
Yep.
And then I have the Knicks as my 5 seed.
All right. Good top 5. So my top 5, it starts similar. So I have Boston 1 because that team is just too good. It
Yep.
really is. Like, their top 6 is elite. There isn't a better top 6 in the league. There might not even be like a better like top 8 just because their top 6 is so good. So but at third, this is where I'm going to put Philly. I still like Embiid better than I like Evan Mobley. So
Yeah,
this
of
is where
course.
I'm at. We're coming off his MVP year. Yes, James Harden's out. Yes, he led the league in assists. I value what James Harden does, though there is a lot of people to pick up the slack. You still have Melton. You still have Maxi. And from there, some other people will pick up slack. But I like the Tobias Harris mention that you had as well. So efficient. And also, he plays really well with Embiid.
He
Like, they
does.
might they might not be the perfect defensive duo because they're both not quick twitch athletes and they can't cover the floor within a matter of a second. I mean, they're long, but for the most part, they're more of a stout, strong defensive. Like, not defensive. They're just strong. You're not going to knock them off their spots. You might be
Right.
able to get by them. You might be able to move them to one side and get them in a bad rotation, but you're not going to bully this team. And that's why I like Philly. That's why I like them in the regular season. Some real strong, sturdy guys. Book them in for third spot. But for fourth, I'll ride with you here. Cleveland. I'll put Cleveland at fourth. You already said it. Like, great defensive team, great guards. There is a lot of overlap, and I don't really believe in their wing pool. It's Struce, it's Jetty Osman, it's Karis LeVert, It's Isaac
You got you
Okoro.
got you got George Niang.
We got George
You
Niang, who's
got
built like
George
me.
Niang.
Like
Yo, that's crazy.
it's just
They couldn't Photoshop that thing or anything. They had to make.
what
They
would they
had.
Photoshop? What would they
I don't
make
know.
better in that
They had to.
photo?
They had to make the photo look better. You can't get them out there like that. You can't put them out there like that. That's
Yeah, I
crazy.
know. The jersey, like it just something with the fit wasn't right. The fit, like
Yeah.
his shorts were either like too big or too small. Something was off.
The shirt was a size too small. Maybe
You
two
think
sizes too small.
you think that's what it was? It was the shirt
It,
is small and then the shorts were bigger and it just like made like his body
yeah.
proportions look so funny.
Yeah. The shirt looked tight as hell.
Yeah, yeah, the shirt did look tight as hell. He might have got a little summer gut. You know, he was hanging out, celebrating a little. He's like,
But he's
I'm
never been
Philly.
in. He's
I'm
never been
leaving
in good
Philly.
shape. But I
He's
don't
never
know.
been in great shape. George Niang, Massachusetts native, rooting for him. But in the
Sharpshooter.
fifth spot, I'm actually not gonna pick the Knicks. I'm gonna put ATL there, and this also I'm just gonna coincide it right now. Give a little preview, and we could do this if you ever want to touch on a team, and then you throw an award in there to fit it in, and then we could patchwork it together. But I have
Okay.
Quinn Snyder
As coach of the
winning
year.
Coach of the Year.
Okay.
So I believe you have to have like a top five finish with them. They had a down year last year, and if they do well, Trey and DeJounte Murray get on the same page. They're gonna say Quinn Snyder did this because
Yep.
the last coaches haven't. You know,
Right.
they didn't respect the Nate McMillans, the Lloyd Pierces of the world.
Yep.
But Quinn Snyder is a proven coach. They threw him the bag. Landry Fields is the GM of the Atlanta Hawks. First move he does, throw the bag at Quinn Snyder. Rookie GM, he goes, I'm going to get a veteran, winning, proven head coach to start the franchise. And that's the perfect way to do it.
Yep.
You got some lead guards. You also found a guy who also led his team to the playoffs. This is Quinn Snyder with Donovan Mitchell. So you have a guard who doesn't really play defense, who's a scoring, pure offensive guard. You got Trey Young. DeJounte Murray has proven to be an incredible defender. I mean, do you remember when like DeJounte Murray wouldn't get Lou Will? He wouldn't let him pass half court
Yep.
when he was locked in one of the last years. But this is like young DeJounte Murray too. And Lou Will's like panicking, looking for someone to help him at half court to pass up the ball. Like
It's like me
DeJounte
bringing the ball
Murray,
up the court.
right? It was looking like if you tried to bring it up on an NBA player. I mean, you have a good handle or whatever, but it's like for real, he was locked in, and it shows. Like DeJounte Murray is one of these one of a kind defenders when he wants to be. And I think if he buys into Quinn Snyder's system, he gets enough touches to where he feels comfortable, where he can use a lot of energy on defense, but he also has some saved for offense. He's not just this one piece, 3 and D guy. He actually still is a playmaker. He's still himself. But Trey Young is the focal point of the offense, will facilitate, be the maestro, if you will. And I trust Trey in a heliocentric offense. Like, as much as people have said, oh, it's not as efficient, or, he can't defend, or nobody likes heliocentric offenses where it's just kind of around one player like Luka.
Hmm.
But Trey Young has always shown it. When he was in college, freshman year, one and done player, led the NCAA in points and assists. Like he has shown at every level. And then when he comes to the NBA, he's always top five in assists. And then points are up there too. He's over 20-point scorer. So this shows he can do it. He's brought his team to an Eastern Conference Finals before with less talent, with younger talent, with worse coaching. There's a real argument here for Atlanta to
Yeah,
take a big leap because I
I can
think
see
last
that.
year they stumbled and maybe the big situation didn't get figured out. But I think by the end of the year, Quinn Snyder is also going to have really good lineups, really good bigs coming in and figuring out their times better because there's always been this beef between Clint Capella and Onyeka Okongwu and how they're being used. And I just trust Quinn Snyder to do it. He got rookie of the years, defensive player of the years for Rudy Gobert. and he's found ways for heliocentric offensive players. Like, this is the same conundrum that the Hawks are in. They
Mhm.
have a rim running, lob catching, shot blocking big in Clint Capella, an athletic big in Onyeka Okongwu, and he's gonna make stuff happen. He's gonna find ways to where maybe in certain defenses they drop, in certain defenses they switch, and I think throwing a healthy amount of a mix is really good because nobody really switches it up on a possession to possession basis. And Quinn Snyder is somebody who is huge on, like, you know, outside out of bounds plays and switching offenses up and running his system. So if he builds the system properly, and I think he had an entire offseason, that's why they brought him in before the season ended. So he could try to implement some things, see where some things fail, see who doesn't listen, see who's not coachable, see who is, rework the system, and then now this season is the season where I would say this is Quinn Snyder's first season as the Atlanta Hawks. He was coming in dealing with somebody else's problem last year, and
Right.
came in maybe in the last 20 games. I could be wrong on the amount of games, but it seemed like the second half or less that Quinn Snyder came in, tried to change a couple things, but that's where I have them. Atlanta Hawks going 5.
Okay. Your screen is frozen again.
God damn it.
It keeps happening every like minute or so.
All right, yeah, don't worry. It'll This is the first one. Training wheels. As long as audio works, we'll be all right.
Okay.
But I don't think anybody's really watching it too much. When I'm always listening to a pod, I'm doing the dishes. I'm going on a walk. I'm taking the trash out. It's just kind of playing outside, out in the air, either
Or
in my
driving.
ear or I'm playing it off my phone. So
Okay.
yeah, I mean it's a pod for the most part, but also if you're here for the visuals, I do think it helps organize things and really see where we stand, and also it's a good reference point to look back at through the season.
Hmm.
If you're really digging our pod, digging our takes, and you're starting to see the Atlanta Hawks do well, you're gonna look back and go, "Oh yeah, Cam had Quinn Snyder here, and Ritchie said Zach Levine's gone because the system isn't really working." And then we look back and those things come to fruition. Maybe you're gonna keep listening to us and understand that we're tapped in. We're trying to give you the most accurate information that we have. We don't work for a front office. We don't work for a nationally televised publication media outlet. We're two generic white guys.
All right. But I was gonna say, just touching on your point about Quinn Snyder, maybe possibly being the right fit for Atlanta. They
Mhm.
won that playing game to make it
Okay.
into the playoffs against the Heat, and they made it to the first round and actually gave the Celtics some problems.
They eliminated the NBA champions from the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean the
Damn near.
Eastern Conference champions. Yeah,
Easter. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They definitely not the NBA champions.
yeah. But they also, I mean, they gave the Celtics some problems in the first round as well. It certainly, I mean, it was more difficult than I thought it was going to be for the Celtics in that first round. So, got to give Quinn Snyder props for that. So
Yeah,
maybe he is the right fit for that team.
I truly believe he's an amazing coach, and regardless, he's gonna make a team sweat in the playoffs. And if this is the matchup, you know, could get a little scary.
Right? Yeah,
Cleveland,
Hawks
Atlanta,
might be a sleeper team then.
Hawks
Okay.
might be a sleeper team. And this is where I say, like, Clint Capella, and this is why I'm saying Jared Allen is not the thing. Because if you want to have a big team, well, Clint Capella's there. He's
Right.
going to match up with Jared Allen and be better and do a better job at what Jared Allen does. He's taller, and I think he catches lobs better, and he even sets better screens. I think Jared Allen's got quicker hands. I think that's the best thing about Jared Allen is how quick hands and quick reaction he has. But he's just a small big. That's why he gets dunked on and stuff. But he's willing to jump and everything. But yeah, I think they win this matchup.
And Trey Young is such a good lob passer too. He's got to be one of the best lob passers in the league.
Trey Young's he's the best. Oh, look at this too. Guard matchup. Trey Young is a better passer than Garland and Donovan Mitchell. Garland is an amazing passer, gifted
Mm.
passer. Trey Young is like generational, once in a generation type passer. Like he's incredible. The angles he finds, the spin, everything he puts on the ball. I really am a big fan of Trae Young. But in their matchup, they have the better passer. Then who is the best defensive guard in that matchup? DeJounte Murray.
Easy.
So you got better defense, you have better playmaking, not better shooting though. Cleveland's got the two
True.
guards who are the better shooters, but there is no shooting anywhere else. Struce, maybe. But then you got 6 foot Garland, 6'1 Donovan Mitchell, and 6'4 Max Struce, who are shooters, but are not defenders by any means. That means you have 3 traffic cones out there, and Jared
Three
Allen and
traffic
Evan
cones.
Mobley are on each side of the block, just literally fighting for their life and
Yeah.
scrambling. So I don't see that really being too effective. And if you have those two dudes scrambling on the back line, that's where you get these backdoor lobs that Trae Young finds for Clint Capella, Okongwu, DeAndre Hunter. It's going to happen. Even Sadiq Bey, he would
Sadiq
be the
Bey's a
best.
really nice piece.
He's not even the best wing on the Hawks. He would be the best wing on the Cleveland Cavaliers. He would be the starting 3. And people would
Yeah.
go, oh, the shooters around Donovan Mitchell now. And people would be praising it. But instead,
Right.
Atlanta Hawks, they could bring little AJ Griffin. Adrian Griffin, the Milwaukee Bucks head coach, his son. They could bring
Yep.
AJ Griffin up and shoot some threes, and he'd still be the best 3-point shooting wing on the Cleveland Cavaliers. So this is where I see it is I think when they match up in the playoffs and things start to slow down and points matter, because if everything is slowing down, that means if Cleveland just keeps scoring twos and then Atlanta's just scoring threes, there's going to be a gap eventually, and it's going to be a big blowout. And that's the way I see it. I think Atlanta has too much shooting, but the regular season can be won with a couple bigs. Like it's easy to just have a big out there and you do well. We've seen it with Rudy Gobert. We've seen Utah be like a number 1, number 2 seed in the West, and then when it comes to the playoffs, you're like, "Oh, this big thing isn't that good. It's not all it's cracked up to be."
Right. It's
So,
a good point.
that's where I'm at with it. I think bigs are better in the regular season. I think guards win you playoff matchups and shooting as well and playmaking, and that's where I see it. But yeah, this is a good top 5. You want to go in the top 5 of the West?
Yeah. Want me to start?
Yeah.
All right. So I'll take the Suns number 1 with that big 3 that they have. I'll go with the Denver Nuggets, last year's NBA champions. I'll take the Lakers. Hopefully they'll be fully healthy this season. They have a nice roster on paper.
Hmm.
Um, Kind of the same with the Clippers as well. I got the Lakers 3, the Clippers 4th, and the Clippers the same thing. On paper they have a really good team, and if they can stay healthy, they're certainly a contender. And then I don't know, I'm not sure which one to go with. I have the Warriors listed as 5, but I can see the Pelicans being 5th as well. I have the Pelicans right now as 6th and the Warriors at 5. But to me, it's kind of a toss up.
Okay.
And you've been really high on the Pelicans as well, so um, I could certainly see them being in the top 4, top 5 this year as well.
So, same as the East, we start off similar.
Okay.
We go Phoenix, we go Denver. But when we get to 3 is when everything changes. And yeah, you're right. New Orleans Pelicans. They have Valanciunas. They have Zion Williamson. I see it being a regular season juggernaut. If they just stay healthy, availability is the best ability. And if they could just stay on the court and just keep playing games, I believe the Pelicans can do incredible. Now, when the playoffs start and you can start pulling Valanciunas around and really strategizing what you do with Zion and how lazy he gets off ball and on ball, but off ball really bad. And if you just start rotating around and you have him chasing guys, he's not going to have the cardio that everyone else should be. Even if he's in shape, I don't care. There are guys who've been in shape for 5 years straight. You're not going to beat their cardio just because you just got ready. There are guys who are born ready. You know what I'm saying? Like if you just started running marathons, and then there's a guy who's been running marathons for 10 years.
Yeah, you're not going to
Like
beat them.
he's got built up endurance, and I just don't see Zion having all of that. And in a specific game 7 matchup, I think he could get it used and abused really bad. But regular season, I think it could work. Same with in my 4 spot, I got Minnesota, the Timberwolves. So when Cat and Rudy Gobert are on the court together, they are the best defense in the NBA. It's been proven from their total points, their defensive win shares, everything, but they also have the worst offense in
Yep.
the league when they're both
Yep.
on the court. And I think a big problem was Cat claiming he's a 4, he's not a 5, claiming he's the best big shooter, the shooting big of all time, and all this stuff. And then when you see him get the rock, he's just trying to beat guys in the post. And like that's not really what you're supposed to be signed up for or signed up to do or who he claims to be. You know, Cat claims to be more of a perimeter based player and everything else. I think he could just shoot a set 3. I think that's what he's really good at. But
Yes.
you know, he's got to try to not be such a post-centric player this season because when he's playing with Rudy, he just can't do that post-to-post stuff. Maybe some high-low action, but the problem is that they're both like low on the block. It's not he's not existing at the elbow and at the level. That's where
Hmm.
he needs to be more. And I think if he operates more out of there, they'll see much more success. So for 5th spot, I do have the Lakers. I'm convinced, just like you, that the Lakers have an incredible roster, and I'm also going to dabble in right now. I don't know if you want to include any of yours in these talks, but 6 man of the year, Rui Hachimura, and this is why I have him at the 6 man is because the Lakers are so stacked that you have Braun out there, you have Vanderbilt, and then you also have Anthony Davis. Incredible incredible backcourt. And then you got Rui coming off the bench. But also the reason why I think Rui could win 6 man and never lose eligibility is they won't start Rui. Even if AD gets hurt, I think Christian Wood will get the nod to fill in for that. Even if Rui gets more natural minutes and more scoring, more touches, more everything, I think the natural fit could be better with Christian Wood. So Rui will always come off the bench. He will always be eligible. He's not going to start over 30 games this season unless some catastrophe happens. You know,
Unless
barring injury
LeBron
with
gets hurt. Yeah.
exactly. If LeBron's gone, you're going to need Rui to do some stuff and
Right.
to be a smaller wing because Christian Wood can't do what LeBron does. Rui could supplement some of it, and I think but I'm not banking on LeBron getting hurt. That is something I'll never bank on just because
Right.
it's not fun to bank on LeBron getting hurt. Plus, he's not shown to ever be that guy to bank on to get hurt.
Right.
I think it would make more sense to bank on Philly not doing good because, hey, Embiid had a healthy year. How many of those has he had? He's had more unhealthy years than healthy, so you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Let's jump into the awards. So I've filled in
Okay.
Coach of the Year and 6 man so far. Who's your Coach of the Year?
So coach of the year. Um, I was thinking, I have Bickerstaff up there. I have Darvin Ham up there. But I think I'm gonna go with Frank Vogel in the Phoenix Suns in his first year with Phoenix. I just think that team on paper
Hmm.
looks so good, and hopefully they're able to play all those games. You don't know if KD's gonna sit out some games or Booker's gonna sit out some games, but um, I think they could win 60 plus games in the regular season if they're all healthy. So I think I'm gonna go with Frank Vogel.
I think Frank Vogel was a great pick. I really do. Because he did incredible work with the Lakers. They didn't even respect him after he won them a championship,
Right.
and they just
It's
tossed
so
him to the
weird the way they
side.
fire. So weird the way they fire coaches after 2 years, like they just won a championship,
Yeah.
and because a couple seasons don't work out your way, you're gonna fire the guy. I don't understand that.
But it goes down to maybe a player going to, talking to the GM or talking to the owner on the side and just saying,
Yeah.
listen, man, like I can't keep playing with this guy or he's not doing this right. And then the
Right.
player gets into the owner's head And he's
Hmm.
like, "Yeah, this guy can't coach.
Yeah, I need the player. I don't need the coach.
I need the right. The
I'm not gonna
player
have the talent.
is out there on the court doing things. The coach isn't doing anything. No one's listening to them
Yeah,
anyway." So that's probably what players are getting into their head and firing coaches, certain things like that. People are called coach killers. And that's
yep,
what it's from. It's players going upstairs above their coach's head and saying, "You got to take this guy out of here. No one likes him, or I don't like him, or he's mean, or he makes us practice too much, or we don't practice enough." It could be a plethora of things. Who's your sixth man?
my sixth man. Let me see who I got for my list here. So it was kind of to me, it was kind of close between Emmanuel Quickly and Malik Monk.
Okay.
Um, but I think for this season, hmm,
You don't
you know,
have the Kings in the
this
top five, but you do have your Knicks in the top five.
that's why, and that's kind of why I think I'm leaning more towards Emmanuel Quickly as my sixth man of the year. And he kind of came on strong the last 2 months of the regular season,
Hmm.
in that, but some of those games he was starting, so he had 60 games off the bench last year.
Yep.
So I think I'm going to take Emmanuel Quickly. I also had Nas Reed in the mix. I thought he was a sleeper, but I think I'll go with Quickly for
I
this
like.
season.
I really like Nas Reed for that, but at the same time, I think the only time he would get the opportunity would be if one of them is hurt, and then he would be then starting.
Yeah, that's why like I wasn't sure if he was going to have a big enough of a role to
Six
to
man
win
and
six man of the year.
so we could go to most improved. I think this is a good bridge right here because sixth man and most improved can be synonymous with each other. Like Nas Reed could have a most improved player off the bench, but the only way he's going to get MIP is if he's not a six man, is if something happens to Cat or Gobert and he
Yeah, I
needs to
agree.
step up and
I
he
agree.
needs to, and he gets all his statistical categories up. Um, but at the same time, I think it's tough for him specifically to win sixth man because Cat is such a stat stuffer, and so is Gobert in his own right with blocks and rebounds. And then you
Rebounds.
got Cat with points and rebounds. I just don't see like there's not a lot left on the table for a Nas Reed, but I do think it's smart to bring him up in contention because he can be in all these conversations. It's all about the opportunity. And I think that's where this whole conversation is based around is we're talking about which players have the highest percent chance to do said task, to be number 1 in the standings or to be traded or to be an MVP. It's all opportunity. If
Yep.
Luca was sitting, 11th man on Detroit and he's behind Kane Cunningham and he was drafted in the second round, but he's the same guy, but he just wasn't recruited properly and wasn't thought of as this way and everything else. Maybe he won't get an MIP, a six man, an MVP, anything like that because of opportunity. So we're just betting on mainly who has the best opportunity to win. And Frank Vogel, with his opportunities in the past, has shown us why he's worthy. So
Yep.
Frank Vogel gets the pick of, hey, potential coach of the year this year because he's so proven. Quinn Snyder, same thing. Manuel Quickly, all last season, proved himself in those 60 games off the bench. And then when he takes the starting role, he grabs the bull by the horns and does his own thing with that too. So you can understand where Emmanuel Quickly probably isn't going to start next to Jalen Brunson. You know, that's just the way it is.
It'll be Quentin Grimes.
And Quentin Grimes is a great guy to start next to Jalen Brunson. He's going to fight over every single screen. Quickly, he's a great defender too, but I believe uh, Quentin Grimes is better with the ball out of his hands.
Yeah,
He's a
great
great
catch and
set
shoot guy.
shooter. His
Yep.
true shooting percentage, I think, was top 5 in the NBA last year for a specific
Wow.
amount of attempts.
Mm.
Like he's a really good player, but it's a role guy. He knows his position to where quickly his best skill sets overlap with Jalen Brunson. So the opportunity may or may not be there whenever Jalen Brunson comes off the court. That's the time where Emmanuel quickly steps in and fills those shoes. He doesn't stand next to Jalen Brunson and take over the responsibility it's when Jalen Brunson comes off, and I think that is where Emmanuel quickly slides in, and it's a good pick for six man.
And it
Um,
would be so much one-on-one basketball if you had Randall, Brunson, and quickly on the floor at the same time. Just so
exactly.
much one-on-one basketball. That'd be ridiculous.
Right. So they have to be staggered, which gives the great opportunity to actually have a six man. You
Right.
know, and that's why I don't think you could stagger Nas Reed with Gobert all the time. Like I don't think that works. I also think if you look at the metrics, it's not that good. Because I've
That's
dove
a
into the
nasty
Minnesota.
lineup.
Yeah, it really is. It's just the paint gets too gunked up. I love Nas Reed. He's big jelly. Me and you went to Jelly Day.
We
All
did.
right, too generic. Went to New York City. We took a train to New York City, and we covered Jelly Day, which is people celebrate Jelly Day go every year now. It's probably 4 or 5 years in running. It
Hmm.
started with this guy Isaiah Washington, and start with the jelly, the special layup with the spin on it and finesse. And Big Jelly, he's from New York. He had all the handle in the world. Nas Reed came up, went to LSU, got drafted, and is still playing. We couldn't see the original maker of the jelly, Isaiah Washington, really make his stamp in the league, but it's cool to see him. I always root for the New York players, mainly New York guards, like Kemba. Love Kemba. Oh my God, was probably one of my favorite players of all time. If you put a list, I wouldn't put him top players of all time, but gotta represent, gotta shout out Nas Reed and Jelly Day. All right, go to MIP.
Okay. Um. So there was, I think, two or three guys that I was really focused on here.
Hmm.
So Caleb Martin
Okay.
was going to be one of my top picks, and I think, like you were talking about before, it's opportunity. And now Gabe Vincent's on the Lakers, Max Strus is on the Cavaliers. Caleb Martin's going to have, you would think, an expanded role. And then we
Hmm.
see, Jimmy Butler misses, who knows, 20 plus regular season games in the season, and we saw Caleb Martin in the biggest moment. He stepped up in those conference finals against the Celtics. He could have won Eastern Conference Finals MVP over Jimmy Butler. I think Butler beat him by maybe one vote or something like that.
What was that,
So
the Larry Bird Award?
yeah, the Larry Bird Award against the
Damn, man.
Celtics
Caleb
kills
Martin
me.
could have been the Larry Bird Award winner.
He should have been. He was
Oh,
cooking the Celtics.
he
But
was.
so I have Caleb Martin there. I have Rui Hachimura, who you have as your sixth man of the year, but I think Hachimura could have more of an expanded role this year. He seemed a lot more comfortable in that Lakers offense. And also he has, one of the best passers, if not the best passer of all time, and LeBron James throwing to him. We know D'Angelo Russell has great vision as well.
Hmm.
Hachimura is, he finished really well around the hoop last season. We know he has that mid-range jumper. We'll see if he can improve upon the three-point percentage. Only shot just below 32% from the three-point line last season. And the third guy I have is your boy Cam Thomas, if he
Okay.
actually sees some minutes. So
Uh,
we saw his numbers last year, averaged over 10 points per game, great shooting splits all across the board. And as as you and I have always talked about, we don't really understand. He had four 40-point performances last season, three straight 40-point plus performances last season, and then all of a sudden barely saw the court. So
yeah,
those are
Spencer
those would be the
Dinwiddie
top
came
three guys
back.
that I have.
He came back, and then all of a sudden they said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do DNPs for Cam Thomas," and then they're gonna start Spencer Dinwiddie. There were some nights where Spencer Dinwiddie started, Cam Thomas had DNPs, and they each had 0 points in the game.
Hmm.
Like that actually happened.
Yep.
So I just think Spencer Dinwiddie is not the point guard as they thought he was going to be, and they tried to make him be, which I'm glad he's not. Ben Simmons is looking to be more of the point guard this season.
Right.
So the lineup is going to be Ben Simmons, Spencer Dinwiddie, Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson, and then Nick Claxton. But Cam Johnson's out for the first couple weeks, so you
Right.
never know if we might see some tinkering, some messing around, and you put Cam Thomas at the point, or you put you still kind of have Benson. Now I would say Cam at the point, Dinwiddie, Bridges. Then Ben would be more of a four in this instance because he doesn't have the extra big next to him in Cameron Johnson and Nick Claxton. So I don't know. I see where that lineup is all right, but I actually don't like it. I actually like Cam Thomas coming off the bench,
Yep.
which he could still win Most Improved Player coming off the bench. You don't have to win six man being a bench player,
He
but
could win both.
right, you could technically win both. So who are we putting in for your slot?
For most improved, um, hmm, I'll go with Rui Hachimura this
All
season.
right, so you're gonna go Rui Hachimura. So you see it a little differently. I see him as more of a six man. You see potentially some some bad injury luck, and even more opportunity for Rui to even start games.
Yeah, but I just think he'll be more comfortable now having a full training camp with the Lakers. Even if LeBron's healthy and everybody else is healthy, I still can see him winning Most Improved Player of the Year just because of the talent he has around him.
hmm So with me, I was thinking of Cam Thomas with this award. I would love to put him as six man of the year, but I want him to start. But
Yep.
then most improved player of the year, I think he could really qualify. Like if he averages 19 points or more, I think it's a real possibility to get Cam Thomas to be the most improved player of the year. Depends how much he's coming off the bench, depends on the opportunity, depends on his minutes, all that type of stuff. I think his efficiency is good. Once he gets real reps, his efficiency was bad his rookie year. One, because he was playing small forward and he's 6'3", and he's not even known to be a defender. He's not Lou Dort. Lou Dort is a 6'3" small forward, but not Cam
Right.
Thomas. But for
Right.
some reason, he was the only other 6'3" small forward in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So he was being misplayed. Steve Nash had him in a bad role because he didn't want him touching the ball at all. So he tried to put him at the three because he didn't want him playing the guard positions and being around players who can't dribble the ball and facilitate. So there's been some weird things with Cam and everything. But if I'm going to pick MIP, I'm going to pick somebody who I think is going to start for the entire year, but really show a leap in skill and efficiency and scoring. So, what I'm going to do, and we haven't discussed this at all, but I think it's the lock. If I have a lock this year in all my awards, it's going to be this one, and it's going to be Jabari Smith Jr. I
Okay.
think
All right.
there's a glut of guards for the Rockets. I mean, there is the KPJ opening now, so we'll see where everything adds up. I think he got traded, right, to
He did.
OKC,
He got traded to the Thunder, and then
and then they waived like
Victor
Jeremiah
Oladipo.
Robinson Earl or something.
Yeah, they got Jeremiah Robinson Earl and Victor Oladipo, so they might waive both of those guys.
Okay, so yeah, you have a glut of guards. You have Victor Oladipo now instead of KPJ, and then you have Amen Thompson. You got Fred Van Fleet. You got Dylan Brooks, who plays like the 2-3. There's a lot of guards,
There is.
Obviously, Jalen Green,
Yeah, there's no
everything.
shortage of guards on that team.
But I think for forwards, and Jabari plays the 4-5 too. It's not like he plays 4-3. He's a wing, but at the same time can go small ball in certain matchups and play the five. So with him, when Şengün is too slow to guard whoever, or whatever the case may be, they need more spacing. You throw Jabari at the five, and then Tari Eason then comes in off the bench and can play the four or the three. So I think Jabari Smith Jr. is going to have all this opportunity, all the time in the world, and he's going to add so much spacing to this team, which they need. Because Tari Eason doesn't add the proper spacing the way Jabari does.
Right.
Neither does Şengün. Neither does anybody behind them. Jock Landell is the backup big behind Şengün. They both, I think, are kind of similar defensively. So if you really do need, a longer, more spacing styled, quicker switching, you put Jabari Smith Jr. at the five. So he's
Right.
going to have a lot of opportunity to grow in multiple positions and get a lot of different touches. And I think Fred Van Fleet will be able to set him up better than KPJ did. KPJ is looking for his shot and then looking for a way out to find, a skip pass or something like that. But Fred Van Fleet is manipulating the defense to get you open. He's not manipulating the defense to get himself open. Yes, he is a shooter and more offensive based, but he is definitely a more willing and a better facilitator than I believe KPJ is. He's just less selfish,
Right.
which you also need next to Jalen Green. So hopefully Jalen Green develops as a player, his shot IQ increases, and his playmaking does as well, and he could find some looks for Jabari Smith Jr. So that's my MIP. Where do we go next? How about rookie of the year? You had a fun list. You had about 5 guys you were telling me, and none of them were Wembenyama. Did
Nah, I
you?
wanted to I wanted to do something different. Yeah, and none of them
Okay.
were Wembanyama or Chet Holmgren.
Or Chet, yes.
He said Holmgren too. So I went with Scoot Henderson,
Mm-hmm.
Amen Thompson. I got to shout out UConn. So I got Jordan Hawkins,
UConn.
and then I got another Portland Trailblazer and Chris Murray, and
Chris
went with the guy from Toronto, Grady Dick.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's a great pick. You know,
Oh
he
yeah.
might he might stroke it from deep, you know?
Chill. Pause.
Pause. All right, never mind. I'm putting Cam Thomas back in. If we're pausing things, we're putting Cam Thomas in. But all right, so who do you got for rookie of the year? Who's your pick?
um. So rookie of the year, I think I'll go with Amen Thompson.
Amen Thompson.
I'll
Okay.
go with Amen Thompson. I was thinking about him or Scoot, but I think I'll go with Amen Thompson.
So if Amen Thompson has an incredible year, what is he known to do? Playmake, pass, run in transition.
Yep.
And if he does all those things at an elite level where he wins rookie of the year, I think that means he was setting up Jabari Smith as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
So
It would
yeah,
help. It would
if
help
Amen
Jabari Smith
Thompson,
Jr.'s game.
yeah, if he was the best version of himself, Amen makes everyone else better when he's better. So
Right.
yeah, I like that pick. That's an incredible pick that would coincide with my MIP. But I'm not gonna pick him for rookie of the year. I'm also not going the Chet or Wemby route.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Scoot. Scoot
Like it.
may be the last place team or close to last in most people's standings. But I think Scoot Henderson is going to have an incredible year. He's going to show a lot of things. He's going to board up. He's going to play some good defense. He's going to get a couple strips to where people are putting it on the timeline. Oh my God, Scoot Henderson's a problem, you
Yeah.
know? And it just turns into that thing. And Scoot Henderson's got this new like street cred, like court cred. Like he's gonna strip a couple people. He's got incredibly long arms. He's got huge hands. I think he's kind of built like Kawhi Leonard, but he's just a smaller version of Kawhi. They don't play the same. Um, I,
Yeah.
I
Scoot
see
can't
him.
shoot.
I see him as Baron Davis. Whenever I watch Scoot Henderson, go watch some Baron Davis highlights. They're the same guy. I promise you. The only thing you hope with Scoot Henderson is that mentality off the court and leadership is just on another level of Baron Davis's. Because Baron Davis was a stud, perennial all-star guard, but he wasn't a winning guard. He didn't take his team to an upper echelon to where they needed to be for him to be remembered as such a great guard. But as a kid, I remember watching Baron Davis and growing up, and when you look back at it, the way they move their body, how strong they are, the way they want to get in the post, and they're not afraid to post up, even though they're a guard. But
Right.
they'll bang down low with other guards and show them like, oh, like this guard ain't playing around. And there are guards and taller players with that. We know even from high school, if you were 6'2", 6'3", you were a big.
Yeah.
So
So weird.
somebody like Scoot Henderson, there are bigs that are 6'2", 6'3", that are some of the best centers you'll ever see, because
Yep.
they have all the footwork and they've had to play undersized forever and everything else. And I think Scoot has this part of his game where he is a dog in the post. He will post some guys up and not be afraid to do it. Like Tatum. Like Tatum's a dog in the post. You won't expect it, but he gets busy down there.
Yep.
But Scoot Henderson, a lot like Barron. So I'm gonna say rookie of the year for that. And I'm gonna make a jump to MVP. And
Okay.
I'm gonna start this one off.
All
And
right.
I'm gonna put it right here. Luka Doncic is my MVP. He had a Rocky like summer where he was running upstairs. You know, he's like training, like he's gonna fight Apollo Creed or he's gonna fight Drago. And
And he lost no weight.
he's in the snow. He's flipping things over. He's doing pull-ups outside. I think he had his rocky summer, and he's gonna come back and he's gonna kick the world's ass and be the world's best player.
Okay.
You said he lost no weight.
It looks like he lost no weight to me. He still looks heavy as hell.
I think he looks decent. He doesn't. This isn't like the worst body Luka's looked,
No, it
but
hasn't. I forget
I
which
think he's
season.
stronger now than ever. Like he looks
He is
solid.
strong. Yeah.
He looks really solid now. Like for a little bit when he came into the league, you've seen it. He was fit, athletic, whatever, was a little chubby. Then he kind of got like out of shape, Luka.
I forget. Like 2021, he looked huge.
Yeah, he did. He looked
I think the
goofy.
2021 2022 season, he looked huge.
He did, and I think his body fat percentage is much lower than it was. I think he has more muscle. I think he has more know-how. I also think he's willing to play defense more. The more he's in shape and moving his feet in the off season, the more he'll be able to do that throughout the year. So I see it. Luka's his best self, and he wins MVP this year. And in the West, I'll even lock this in right here. Dallas. I think he averages a triple double and wins MVP from the sixth seed like Russell Westbrook did.
Wow. Okay. Because I only have Mavericks as a 9 seed right now.
I know everyone I've
So
heard podcasts, I've seen articles written. Dallas is so low. I actually think Dallas could be even higher than this. I have
I just don't
really
know. I just don't know what they have. Like they don't have that much. I think around Kyrie and Luca.
I like Green. Josh Green is really good. And
Yeah.
then at the same time, this might sound goofy, but I loved him in the preseason, was Derek Lively Jr., the rookie big.
Hmm.
He is not going to look for the rock. That's the best thing about him. He is going to run from sideline to sideline. He's going to run from baseline to baseline. And that's really all he's going to worry about. He's going to cover the court. He's going to get rebounds and he's going to catch lobs. He's going to catch dump off passes. And that's all he wants to do. He shows no signs of wanting to just pop from the elbow. Like, he doesn't want to
Hmm.
be a stretch big. The guy knows what he is, and he's a rim runner. And I think a young rim runner for Luca is gonna just pay off because everyone's like, "Oh, JaVale McGee, he's a rim runner. It works with Luca." But he's 35 or like 33, like he's older. He is quick-footed, but he's not as quick-footed as he was on the Wizards,
Right.
12 years ago when he's on Shaqtin' a Fool and everything, and he was young and ambitious and doing a lot.
Hmm.
He's still not that player, and people Willie Cauley Stein and everything else, like
He's got
all
Dwight
these type
Powell
of
too.
rim runner 7-foot bigs. I think Lively is that, but he's shown the drive to actually want to be great at the role, not just being like, oh yeah, I fit the role. I'm not really a shooter. I'm not a dribbler. I'm a 7-foot guy. I could go block shots. Like it seems like that's what he does. Like that's his DNA. Like he's this grit and grind, box out, block shots, catch lobs guy, and that's how he sees the game. So if he's like that, I don't know. I'm worried for the league because Luka's just going to create opportunities for him.
Right.
So who's your MVP?
So for me, I don't know. There was a few people I was looking at. I was looking at Paul George if he stays with the Clippers.
Paul George.
I'm hoping he has a big bounce back season. And if you think about it, like when that those 2 seasons with the Thunder with Westbrook, he had one of his best seasons, arguably one of his best seasons on both sides of the ball when he and Westbrook played together.
Very true.
Um, then I have Devin Booker, but I think I'll have to go with Jason Tatum because I think
Okay.
his numbers have improved every season. As much as I knock him, about not showing up maybe some of the big moments and in the playoffs.
Hmm.
I'm gonna rock with Tatum for the MVP this season.
Okay, I like that. Tatum was my second pick for MVP. I just think there's a lot of help around him, and the fact that they just paid Jalen Brown like $300 million.
Yeah,
Like I don't think there's going to be too many spots where people are like, this guy's the MVP. That you got arguably
right.
the best defensive backcourt. You got Drew Holiday, you got Derek White, two of the best defensive guards in the league, and they're both next to each other. You got Kristaps Porzingis, you got Horford. There's a lot of help,
That's
and
true.
I just don't know if he's gonna get like I don't know if he's gonna have enough sympathy to get the MVP, if that makes sense. Like people are not gonna like, oh, Tatum's working hard. It's like,
Right.
no, these guys are making it easy for Tatum, to where the MVP is something where you're fighting through, you're doing the best you can to prevail. I think it's given to him.
I think if they finish with a good enough record, though, I think he can win
Yeah,
it. And if they finish with a number one seed,
if he averages over 30 again, sets another record for the Celtics 30-point seasons, because Bird, famously finished at 29.9. Tatum passed him this year at like 30 points and 30.2 points or something like that this year. If he has
yep.
another 30-point game, another 30-point season and over 60 wins, yeah, I could see it. I can. I know the arguments against it. And then when people go, Luka Doncic is averaging a triple double with a guy who doesn't even believe Earth is a planet. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it goes to that so fast that like, and Kyrie was this distressed asset and nobody wanted him on the team. Nobody would trade for him this offseason. He had to re-sign with the Mavs because the Mavs didn't even have anybody, but they needed a player. They needed a body out there, and they needed to convince Luka they're trying. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's always this angle of, you know, Kyrie is a weight on a team that brings them down, to
Right.
where a player like Drew Holiday usually just helps elevate the floor and elevate the players around him. So yeah, that's kind of my angle. It's all about just different opportunity, but I do think if Jason Tatum and the Celtics, if they get over 60 wins, it's going to be hard to say like this isn't the best player on the best team. Come on.
Right.
Yeah. What about DPOI?
Let me see what I got. So I have the five people that I listed were Nick Claxton, Mitchell
Mhm.
Robinson, Anthony Davis, Evan Mobley. I had to throw in a guard there, so I threw in Alex Caruso. Um, but this year, I think I'm going to go with Nick Claxton because I think he could have won it last year. Um, so I'm going to rock with Nick Claxton this season.
He was real upset last year
Yeah, I definitely
when
thought
they
I certainly thought he could have won it.
I do think it should have been Brook. You know,
Brook was definitely up there too.
I think Brook Lopez should have won it
I had him in my
because
top three.
his rim deterrent percentage was really high.
It
And then
was
we seen what Triple J did when he's the center. Is he really the defensive player of the year? And then you go and you play in the World Cup, and then you get abused by Daniel Tice.
right.
Like, are we
Sad.
serious? Do we really think Daniel Tice would have abused Brook Lopez? No.
No, definitely not.
Daniel Tice, he's 6'8". Brook Lopez is 7'2", and he moves like a glacier. He's just this big
Right.
wall of ice that
Yep.
slowly moves down the court. But like,
But it works.
but it works, and you keep him in drop coverage, and he doesn't have to slide. And from there, he's just this wall where nobody within 10 feet can really get a clean shot off. It's all this redirected shot. You got to put a little extra arc that you don't normally put on, because nobody is built like Brook Lopez in the league.
And last
Like
year might have been his best year in a Bucks uniform too.
it might have been. There was that one year where he started shooting threes and he was bananas.
Yeah.
That was my favorite year of Brook. His best 3-point year, probably like 4 or 5 years ago, after coming back from the Lakers. But my defensive player of the year, I'm gonna mark it in as Evan Mobley.
That's a
Evan
good pick too.
Mobley,
He was right there. He was right there for me.
he's so incredible, and also I'm banking on players to be traded. Jared Allen and Evan Mobley maybe gets to go, then situate himself in the center position, and from there we see if he really is this great defensive center or Jared Allen was covering up for his, flaws or whatever. But I do think Evan Mobley is a complete basketball player, complete defensive player, and he could win and will win Defensive Player of the Year at some point in his career. Clutch
Okay.
player. I seen your list. You told me about it, and my guy that I chose is not on that list. And like I had all the same guys, but this one guy was left off. And I want to see why you have who you have.
All right. So the five people that I listed were De'Aaron Fox, Jalen Brunson, Anthony Edwards, DeMar DeRozan, and Donovan Mitchell. And
Hold on, I don't want to dunk on your thing because that we had the same list except one person. So I'm gonna put my
okay,
guy, and
all right,
then we could argue everything else because I already have mine. I just don't want to trump yours because you
okay.
have good arguments.
So, um, yeah, I think I'll go with Brunson
Okay.
for this season. And I thought last year he definitely won them a lot of games. Just it's amazing how he can score in the paint too. Some of those fadeaway shots and sometimes the way he's able to move in the paint, they're really impressive. And he had a lot of clutch buckets last season. So I think I'm gonna go with Brunson.
Jalen Brunson, I think, is a great pick. I mean, for me, I picked Damian Lillard. Dame time. You know what time it is.
Yeah,
Like
he's definitely up there. I
he
mean,
just
that's
always is a clutch scorer, and I think that's who the Bucks really needed was like a guard who could create his own shot because Drew Holiday is very hot and cold, and he picks and chooses when he wants to do things. But Damian
Vegas.
Lillard, he's got the green light. He's on go at all times, and he's gonna make some tough shots. He's gonna miss some tough shots, but I think all in all, he's gonna be given the most opportunities on the Bucks to shoot last minute shots, and I think that's where he's going to get the nod. But I do like Jalen Brunson, and if you have the Knicks at fifth, if he's making clutch plays and keeping them in the playoff race and a top seed, he's definitely going to be in the contention for Clutch Player of the Year.
Right.
Do you have an overrated team?
Overrated team. Um, Let me think. I really have an overrated team.
Just like not even that you're overrating them, but like they are overrated. You think in the grand scheme of things that people are talking about them, they shouldn't be.
Hmm. You know, not really, to be honest.
So you don't have an overrated.
Not really. No,
Not
I have an underrated team.
who's your underrated team?
Pelicans.
Pelicans. Okay.
I do have an underrated team, but overrated. Yeah,
So I think the
I don't
Mavericks
know.
are my underrated team. I think there's some young guys. I think Omax didn't do good. Do you know who Omax is? The rookie?
No.
All right, he got drafted like 23rd by the Mavs. The Celtics tried to trade back to get him, and he got picked like one or two picks before the Celtics did. So the Celtics ended up picking Jordan Walsh, I believe,
Okay.
instead. But they wanted Omax, and his name is Olivier Maxence Prosper, and everyone just calls him Omax because his name is long as hell.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
I he didn't show well in the preseason, but I think he'll figure it out and just be a player. Like I said, Luca and Kyrie are gonna just literally run the show and do their own thing. They just need guys to be around and run and play defense and just fill space.
Right.
Like they truly are their own offenses. But yeah, I think underrated is Mavericks and Pelicans. All right, so I'll put Pelicans because I have Pelicans third. Like no one's putting Pelicans that high.
Yeah, I'm high on the
Um,
Pelicans.
I'm like really high on the Pelicans. Overrated, I'm gonna put Warriors. I really think the Warriors are overrated, and I think if if you look at their over unders, apparently the over under for them is supposed to be like 47, and they really just haven't like won those type of games in years, like that amount, and I just don't see them really matching what they're doing. I just don't see it. I could be wrong, but
Yeah. See, I didn't look at the over unders, but that would be a good one.
But yeah, they just have them like higher. They have the Warriors like high rank. Like you have them fifth. So the over. I mean, you'd most likely be taking like an over there.
Right.
Or maybe somewhere around. I mean, 47 could get you the fifth seed. So, like, it's around there. Like, that's where pretty much they're placed from fourth to sixth seed, 45 to 48 wins. I think they're below 500 this year. That's my opinion.
Whoa.
Yeah, like I think it's a
Hot
fall
take.
off year. I think Chris Paul is a traffic cone. I think Klay Thompson can't even shoot that good anymore compared to what we've obviously seen in the past. I think he's the third best shooter ever. I think it's Steph Curry, Dame Lillard, and Klay Thompson. And Klay Thompson just doesn't look like that guy. I've been watching him in preseason. I've watched his past couple games, not couple games, but like past last season games and everything. In the past 20 games or so, it's not good. It's like really not that good. And also the Pacers. I think the Pacers are overrated. Everyone this year is saying, "Oh, they're all hyped up about the Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton, all this other stuff." I think they're going to have a problem. They have the most guards I've ever seen on a roster. Like the whole roster is guards.
Right.
And then they brought in Bruce Brown, who's going to play the three, but he's 6'4". And like, I'm just not with it. If I could just go to the Pacers roster,
But they might be trading Buddy Hield too, so they might lose a guard.
yeah, true, true. But listen to these guards. We got Bruce Brown, Kendall Brown, Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, Benedict Mathurin, that's 5, TJ McConnell, Andrew Nemhart, Ben Shepard, and then they drafted Isaiah Wong, but he's not going to play. And then you got Jordan Nwora and Aaron Naismith, who kind of play this like small forwardy two guard, but like Jordan Nwora is like the only wing that I see.
Yeah, I thought Naismith was more of a shooting guard too.
Right, and
I didn't know they
exactly.
listed him as a small forward. I thought he was more of a shooting guard.
Yeah, they have him listed as small forward,
Yeah,
but yeah, he's a 6'5" shooting guard from really what I see.
and he's not a
Like,
great 3-point shooter.
so I just named 9 guards. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a lot of guards. A lot of guards for one
It's a
team.
lot of guards, bro. 9
Yeah,
guards on a 15-man roster. Hold on, my scroll bar is going crazy. They got Jarris Walker, but I'm sorry, I'm not banking on this rookie to come in and save them. He was a defensive guy. He's a great all-around player, but I don't know if this is the guy that's going to save them. Obi's going to be fighting for his, trying to prove himself, which is good. I want to see Obi have a good year, but what does that mean efficiency-wise? What does that mean for the rest of the team if he's trying to be the best version of himself? You know, if he's leaking out every time to run in transition, that means he's not crashing the defensive glass.
no, he's
That
worried
means
about that. He's worried about that highlight.
he's worried about the highlight reel. He's trying to leak out. He's worried about that. Oh, this guy's got the board. I'm a run. You know, oh, Tyrese Halliburton's gonna get it. They're gonna kick it out to him, and I'm just gonna run. Like, who is gonna be that guy that is gonna make sure and solidify the paint is good? Is Miles Turner gonna be gone? He was on the top tradable players list that we had. You know, like where does this team all fall? I think they have 3 power forwards, 1 center, and 8 shooting guards, and then Tyrese Halliburton at the point.
Yeah,
Like that's how I really see it. Like I just think they're so overrated. I just don't think it's really it's not going to pan out the way it's supposed to, the way everyone wants to. So I'm going to right now I'm going to fill out the rest of my standings here. So in the 6th spot, I have the Knicks. You had them at 5th. I got them somewhere around there. Definitely going to be where they land. I put Miami here because I still like Bam, and I think there could be a move potentially in the works.
yeah.
So
Maybe James Harden.
maybe James
Who
Harden,
knows?
maybe a Levine or a DeRozan or something in that breath. Um, but I think there could be a move there. I really do. And I don't think they're going to be that bad. And they're always going to be that team that sneaks in right there in the play in. They're not going
Yeah,
to be they're not going to get the 3 seed. They're going to be another team that gives somebody a heart attack in the play in.
Right.
I got Brooklyn here, and it's mainly just banking on hopefully good health and also Cam Thomas having a real role in doing something. Ben Simmons being a great defender. If you think about their team, Nick Claxton, Defensive Player of the Year. You have Ben Simmons, who was a former All Defensive Player, first team All Defense, and then you also have Mikal Bridges, who is also another first team All Defense guy. Like that's three first team All Defenses on a team. Granted, not all at the same time, but Nick Claxton's legit, and all of them are. Cam Johnson's gonna space the floor. Dinwiddie's gonna be Vegas like Drew Holiday and do his thing and just you know late game and they got the spread is -2 or 1.5, and he's gonna manipulate it somehow.
He's
We
gonna
we know
Vegas
how
it up.
he's gonna Vegas it up. If they need a three, he's gonna hit a two. He's gonna mess with the line. He's playing for the line. So
Right.
Dinwiddie, hopefully whatever happens there, and they write it into the script where Brooklyn does it, and then he's got to make his shots. But at 9, I'm gonna put Orlando, and at 10, I'm gonna put Indy.
Yep.
They'll go to a play-in game. But I'm saying they're overrated. I do think
All
they're
right.
better than a Detroit. I do think they're better than a Toronto.
I agree.
Charlotte, Washington, and I'm putting
Orlando.
them. I'm putting the Bulls last. And the reason why I'm putting the Bulls last is I feel like they're blowing it up. If you trade Zach LaVine to who did we say Miami? What are they getting back? A Jaime Jaquez, Nikola Jovic. You know what I'm saying? Like it's guys who will hit in years to come, but they're not going to help you win games this year if they're swapped.
Right.
So
And I had the
that's how I
Bulls. I have the Bulls as a 7 seed right now. But I mean, if they blow everything up, then they're definitely not going to finish with a 7 seed. But that's just if the whole team stays together.
Yeah. I do want to swap. I want to put Detroit in there for Indy. Like a piece of me really does because I like Cade.
I do like Cade as well. I think he definitely changes that team, but I don't know if they have enough to win a or to
That's what
make
I'm
it to
going
a
to do,
playing
actually.
game.
I'm going to do it.
All right.
Detroit at 10. Indy doesn't even make the play in. They're overrated. And now the West, where are we at? So I got Dallas at 6. I'm going to put Kings at 7. OKC at 8.
I had those two swapped. I had OKC 7, Sacramento 8th.
Okay. And then I got Clippers at 9. I know you have them very high.
Yeah, I got them 4th.
Yeah. I'm banking on one of them. Either Paul George is getting traded. That's how I had him in my side.
Yep.
Or there is just some health concerns or some point guard concerns with Bones Highland and Russell Westbrook. And it's like, what are we really doing here? The offense is stagnant, yada, yada, yada. They're playing for themselves. They're not hustling on defense. I think there could be some issues with the Clippers. There's only so many times you could say, Nick Batum, man, he's really defending. You could only bank on Nick Batum being a good defensive player for what? This is his 15th year of being a great defender and switching everything 1 through 5. Like, there's a year that it's just not going to hit,
Right.
and it's just not all going to align. Are we still sold on Rocco? Robert Covington being this 3 and D stretch 5, small ball 5?
He
Like,
had those couple seasons.
he did, but he's not the same
No, I'm
Rocco.
just saying. Yeah,
I know.
he had those couple
Marcus
seasons.
Morris, like how many times are we going to still believe in these guys? That
One
these
more year.
small forward power right, one more year until it's
One
next
more
year.
year.
And
Right.
it's one more year next year. And
Yep.
so this is the year I'll be ready to be proven wrong, but I am selling Rocco, Marcus Morris, Nick Batum. I'm selling all that stock right now.
Okay.
All of it. They get into a play-in. They're good enough. I'm hoping on good health. I don't want these guys to be injured, but for 4 straight years they have been. So
All right.
this is the year that I'm still saying they're still hurt, and the Morris brother, he just can't carry that load the way he used to. A couple losses extra this season because he's going to be manning the ship instead of Kawhi in some nights, and different things like that. So I see the Clippers making it, but not being a top seed. They're going to have to fight their way in, and then they're going to scare the shit out of the next team because they're going to win their way into the play-in. It's just whoever they play now, maybe they play the Pelicans, and who the fuck knows what's going to happen in that round.
Right.
If the Clippers are healthy by then or whatever, where Norman Powell is going to be, who knows? So we got Houston at 11. I got Golden State Warriors at 12.
Wow.
I think this is another year, the same way they took that 1 year and just like, hey, we're going to go for Kuminga and Moody, and we're going to tank, and we're going to get the second
We're gonna
overall
go
pick.
for Kuminga and Moody.
We're going to go for Kuminga, Moody, and James Wiseman,
Oh
and this
my
is going to be
god.
the most best draft we've ever had, and it's going to be so that when Curry gets old, we're going to have a brand new team to still win championships. You know,
Oh man.
that's the year they took, that 1 year where they tanked. And they had some picks that everything aligned, and they picked dog shit. And this time, I think they're going to tank again this year. I think this is a tank year. This is call it what you want, but that's the way I see it.
All
All
right.
right, and then at 13, I got Utah.
I
I
got
got
them
the
14.
Spurs at 14,
I got those two swapped.
and I got Portland, which I did. This was tough for me. Maybe I should have. Yeah, you're right. That is a good call. I think the Spurs have a little bit more juice.
And where'd you have Memphis?
I got them at 10. They're in the
Oh,
play-in.
okay. I got them at
Um,
11.
but I just see so many problems. Their home record was so good last year. They're a great team. They play great at home. Bane is incredible. I like all their role guys. I like Triple J for what he does. Steven Adams is going to be healthy. I always say it. If you got two good bigs, you could win in the regular season. You could at least make the playoffs with two good bigs. So I got to stick by my philosophy. If Steven Adams and Triple J are there, they have to make the playoffs no matter what. So there's that. Marcus Smart is hurt in the beginning of the season, so he's not even going to be the point guard. They don't have Tyus Jones. They don't have Ja Morant. Like, let's be real here. Who were we saying is their point guard yesterday? We were laughing about this.
Derrick
Derrick
Rose.
Rose, and then it's Kenny Lofton.
Kenny Lofton.
Like, that's how fast it goes to Kenny Lofton. It goes Derrick Rose and then Kenny Lofton Jr. and David Roddy. Like, those are their point guards.
That's
I'm
rough.
not convinced, at least in the first 25 games. I think it's going to set them behind. And I also think Ja won't have that great of a point guard backup either. I mean, it's going to be Derrick Rose, but Derrick Rose wasn't even playable on the Knicks last year.
I didn't understand why he
Right.
didn't play at all.
He still has some moves. He can still finish around the rim. He's crafty. But yeah, if he can't even play NBA minutes, if he's not fitting into a locker room, a defensive scheme, or whatever, I don't know how I feel about him. I really like Tibbs. I trust Tibbs' judgment on a lot of things. I think if I was a coach, I'd be closer to Tibbs than anybody else.
Right.
So I want defense. I want my guys to play because me and you, we both grew up playing basketball. We would get out of school after being at school from 7 a.m. to 2:30. We'd be in there for 8 hours a day. We would hop on, we'd get a ride home. We'd go straight to the court, and from like 3 to 6, 7 p.m., we'd play basketball on asphalt.
Yep.
4 hours a day in the hot sun on asphalt, which is
That's why my
terrible for your
ankles are so
knees.
weak. Yeah,
Right.
my
That's why my
ankles are
ankles and my
crazy.
knees are terrible. Right. This is what I'm saying is I grew up doing all this type of stuff. I've played a bunch of minutes. I went to AAU tournaments.
I've played a bunch of minutes.
I've played a bunch of minutes. Maybe not NBA clock
Oh,
time.
man.
Maybe the NBA clock never started for me, but I've played a bunch of minutes. And I know that a player could play 30 minutes a game. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You don't got to baby these guys. Giannis didn't get as good as he did by playing 20 minutes a night. Like, load management did not get him the skill he has today when he was younger in 8th grade or 10th grade and he's trying to get better. You know what I'm saying? These guys, if they want it, they could grind. They could play these minutes. They've done it before. I went to AAU tournaments and I'd wake up and we'd go to the AAU tournament and I'd play at 8 a.m. and then I'd eat a slice of pizza and then I'd have another game at 11 and then I'd eat another 2 slices of pizza and a Pepsi and
Yeah.
like eat some fries or some chicken tenders and some fries with a little barbecue sauce on the side. And then I'd have a soda and then I'd go and play another game. And then the next day, I'd have 3 more games at AIC or at Springfield College or something like that. Like these tournament games were set up where you'd go and play in these circuits 3, 4 games a day. And I'm playing damn near the entire thing.
Right.
So, like, I've done it. I've done all these games back to back. And maybe not an 82-game season and against, Zion Williamson and LeBron James. But going out there, these guys should be fit enough to play 30 to 35 minutes a night if you're a star player.
You
And
would think.
that's what Tibbs sees. He sees through the load management bullshit. And what did the NBA say this year? Load management is bullshit. They came out and said there is no statistical evidence saying load management is helping prevent player injuries. They flat out came out and said it. Like I said, I lean more Tibbs than I lean other coaches and their philosophies and their player first and everything else. I believe you can still be player first and still want to win and still be focused and committed and disciplined and stick to a code. But yeah, that's where I'm at with it. If Tibbs don't like D Rose, I don't like him for 82
Tibbs don't
games.
like D Rose.
That's where I'm at. But where is the rest of your standings?
So for the Eastern Conference, I had the Heat as my 6th seed. I had the Bulls, as long as they stick with that team, as the 7th seed. Nets at 8, Atlanta at 9. Indiana has that final play-in spot, so for the 10th seed. Then I had the Pistons at 11th, Orlando at 12th, Toronto at 13th, Charlotte 14th, and the Wizards, last place team in the East.
All right, hold on. Who was 13?
Who do I have? Toronto.
Toronto. And then who'd you have at 9?
Atlanta.
Atlanta. Okay. All right. So
And
this is interesting. Just by like comparing, because we have Brooklyn in the same spot. We basically,
Yep.
I would say, if it's off by 1, we basically kind of have them slotted, unless it's like to eliminate for playoffs, like a
Right.
Detroit Indy, like how you think Indy could squeeze in. I think they're overrated, so I'm gonna have them swap with Detroit. But like
Okay.
Atlanta, like me and you are way different on that. We see this Atlanta picture. You see them being a play-in team. I see them having a lock spot. Like you see the Bulls keeping it together potentially, or just not knowing what they're going to do, so just kind of play it by ear and the information we do know now. You have the Bulls at 7, which I think they're an incredible defensive team. Um, I think that
And
they're
they have one of the best scoring duos in the league.
yeah. They do, but I think they all want out. And the Bulls were
Yeah.
crying about Zach LaVine last year, saying he was refusing to play defense. And then they put him at small forward. Like, the team is a shit show. They're just throwing people around. They don't know what to do.
It's a
I don't
mess.
want Zach LaVine as my small forward.
Right.
Like, he's like 6'4", 6'5". He doesn't play defense. He's just like a skinny scoring guard. But yeah, if he stays there, I mean, they're going to get wins. They're going to produce. But I
Definitely.
think that team has to make a move. Either they make a team move to win better now, or they blow it up completely, get it down to the studs, then build it up through the draft over the next couple years. And that's my guess.
Yeah,
My
that's
guess is a
yeah.
complete blow up.
I would lean more towards that as well.
All right. So who's your West picks?
So West, I have Pelicans as my 6th seed, Thunder in the 7th spot, Kings in the 8th spot, Mavericks 9 seed, Timberwolves in that 10th spot to the last play-in seed, Grizzlies at 11, Houston at 12, Spurs at 13, Jazz in 14th, and Trailblazers in last place.
All right, who's 11?
Memphis.
Memphis. Okay, so you have Memphis eliminated from the playoffs.
I do.
Oh snap!
Yeah, I
Okay,
don't think I don't. There's too much. They lost too much, and Morant's going to be out for what, the first 30 games of the season, I think.
yeah.
And then if you have Derrick Rose as your starting point guard, you lost Dylan Brooks, who was one of the best defenders on your team. And I
Hmm.
just saw this that Steven Adams is going to have season-ending surgery for a knee injury. So
Right now?
yeah, I just saw it 29 minutes ago.
Oh yeah. Memphis is cooked then.
So
I hold up. I'm gonna make some last second adjustments then.
and they're going to be without. They're not going to have Brandon Clark to start the season as well.
Yeah, I already knew that.
We
That's
know
why I
how
was
good of
like,
a seat
Memphis is
scorer he is
low.
off the bench.
To start the year, I had low faith, but
So I don't know how they're going to put it together.
yeah,
Because I still think they're a decent team and they could win some games. I don't think they have enough to even make a play-in spot though.
no. And yeah, John Morant's gonna come back to hell. What if timeout? Because I gotta say this out loud. What if they trade John Morant?
Why would they trade John Morant? Hell
Why
no.
wouldn't you trade John Morant?
Because he's your future
I mean,
if he puts the guns down.
if he puts them down, stops being Yosemite Sam, then maybe.
Yosemite Sam.
But like, there's a world where some teams might look for Ja. Let's say Brooklyn might go look for Ja, or
Cam
something
Thomas
like
will
that.
take over the Grizzlies.
Cam Thomas takes over the Grizzlies. This is what I'm talking about.
See, that's
And
the only reason. That's the only reason you chose the Nets, though.
exactly.
You're
Well,
just only in it for Cam Thomas.
because if you really think about it, if they send Ja over there, and Ja loves NBA YoungBoy, so you send him to Brooklyn, but but so does Cam Thomas. Cam Thomas loves NBA YoungBoy, so it'll be the perfect swap. YoungBoy fan for
Yeah.
YoungBoy fan, and the locker room will stay the same. The vibes will still be the same because they're both on the aux cord, and Cam Thomas will now be the leading scorer of the Grizzlies.
See, it all worked out in the end for you.
It did. It all worked out in the
It's a
end.
win-win.
But yeah, I think it would be like Cam Thomas, Spencer Dinwiddie, and I mean, hey, we could. You know what? I
God,
know
don't pull up the trade machine.
this wasn't supposed to be a trade machine pod,
Don't
but
pull up the trade machine. We've been doing this for an hour and a half.
I just want to try. Can you see it on the screen or no?
No,
No? All right. I got to figure out a way to do it.
this whole StreamYard thing is messed up.
And yeah, I know, right? I got to really figure out how to use StreamYard properly.
I don't think it's you.
You don't think it's me?
I don't think it's you. I think it's I don't know, something up with the website.
Yeah, I think it is. Present, stop screen. All right. So share screen. And we're going to go here.
Here we go.
So we're going to trade John Morant to the Nets for
Nasty.
Cam Thomas. Oops. Where do you go? Cam Thomas. Cam Thomas is getting paid less than Dariq Whitehead and Noah Clowney, who got drafted this year.
These chips.
LaMarcus Aldridge isn't even on the roster, and he's getting paid as much as Cam Thomas. This is ridiculous. So I think this is what it would kind of look like, and there would be like a Royce O'Neal, and then they would probably get one other player as some sort of filler. Maybe like Gigi Jackson. Here we go. Goes this way, and then the Nets would have to give up picks. So they already traded their 2026 first round, and due to the stipend rule, I don't believe we could even trade this. What? Like it's
Wasn't
good.
meant to be.
Yeah. Hold on. So we would give out. Here, we'll try to. This is Phoenix's first round pick in a few years. That's worth a lot of money. Because Phoenix isn't going to be good in 3 years. You know, like it's a lot of aging players like Bradley Beal and KD. So they're not going to
And
have
they'll request trades and leave.
exactly.
So
So I would say for Ja Morant, this is a protected Philly pick, 1 through 8. Houston holds swap rights. Their own, and then so 2 firsts, a second. Is that enough for Ja, or there has to be more? I think there should at least be one more.
all right.
Maybe the protected Philly first. So 3 firsts in Ja Morant. I mean, 3 firsts, Cam Thomas, Spencer Dinwiddie. Try trade. Success!
Hey,
I did it!
there you go.
No stipend rule because I spaced out the years.
Next week you're getting a Woj bomb.
Yo, this is it right here. Y'all seen it first.
The trade that'll never happen.
The trade that'll never happen. Oh, they actually have like little blurbs about them now. Shot creator, stationary shooter, shot creator, slasher, two-way.
That's cool.
Yeah, I didn't know they had that. But I think hold on, let me get out of here. And then we'll get back to presenting the spreadsheet and we'll wrap it up. So I don't think we're gonna get to the all NBA teams unless you want to.
Yeah, I'll do it if you want to.
You'll do all NBA? All right, so
Yeah.
you'll do all NBA. We'll talk yours because if we get into mine, it'll take too long.
All right. So for All NBA first team, I got Dame at the point, Book at the shooting guard, Jason Tatum at the small forward, AD at the 4, and Nikola Jokic at the 5.
You said Tatum
So
at the 4?
Tatum at the 3,
Oh, Tatum. Okay, Tatum at the 3, and then who's at the 4?
AD at the 4, and Nikola Jokic at the center position.
Okay. Second team.
Oh, second, okay. I didn't know we were doing all of them. All
So wait,
right.
Dame made first team, but Giannis didn't.
Nah.
Get me out of here, man.
Giannis made second team.
Giannis made second team. All right, so
Yeah. So I had Shea as because they list him as a point guard and a shooting guard. So I just had him second team for point guard.
yep.
Then I had Kyrie as the shooting guard because they list him as shooting guard and point guard. So I had him as the 2. I put Anthony Edwards at the 3. Then I had Giannis at the 4 and Embiid at the 5. And then for third team, I got De'Aaron Fox at the point guard.
Mhm.
And then they list Jalen Brunson as a shooting guard and a point guard. So I put Brunson at the 2. I put Mikal Bridges at the 3, Zion at the 4, and Kristaps Porzingis at the 5.
Porzingis. All right, so I'm gonna do mine.
Okay.
I put Book on that side. Yeah, I definitely have Embiid second team. That's where I'll put AD. And then at the 3, I did think Paul George. I think we both were in agreement that Paul George could have a huge year. So I'm gonna put him there. I'm gonna put Shea there. Dang, this is tough. Yeah, I'll do it like this. Dame Shea. And then for my third team, I'll do Fox. I think Bane will have to have an incredible year, even if he doesn't.
Mm,
Like
that's a good one.
he's gonna do good. I do like your Bridges pick. I'll do McHale there, but at the 4, let me scroll up again. Let me just double check things. At the 5, I'm putting Sabonis.
That's a good one. I thought about Sabonis before I picked KP, but
And at the 4, I'm gonna say, oof, should I do it if he wins MIP? Could he win it? Nah, I don't think it. But Jabari Smith Jr. Nah. I think Grant.
stop it.
I think
Jabari
Jeremy
Smith
Grant.
Jr.
Jeremy Grant. I said he's gonna get traded. So there you have it. Here's all NBA picks. Here's our coach of the award, the coach of the year, all our awards, everything, miscellaneous, players to be traded, narratives to be driven, clutch player, 6-man, DPOY. All right, we got everything.
We do.
We covered the bases. We didn't do any over-unders for you guys, but this isn't a gambling pod. Okay?
Go
Find
see
yourself
Drew
some
Holiday
help.
for that. Go
Go
see
see
Drew
some
Holiday
help.
for that.
Right, go see some Drew Holiday. If you want
He's
gambling,
Vegas.
if you want gambling tips, contact or watch Drew Holiday.
He owns Vegas.
He owns Vegas. He has a suite on the top floor, and if you watch him enough, you'll get an
You'll
invite to his penthouse.
you'll understand why we
You'll
call him
understand
Vegas.
why we call him Vegas, because he'll hit a step back 3. He'll do a whole bunch of crazy stuff. He'll do a spinning step back 3. He'll do something you don't even see Curry be doing. He'll hit that, bang. And then there's like 20 seconds left of the third quarter. They're down 5. You look at the spread, it's 5.5. And then he just punts it off of his shoe, and it goes to the
He
4th
just
row.
punts it.
He literally will punt the basketball to the 4th row. So like there's a lot of variance.
And then he'll go
with
back
him.
and play great defense.
And then he'll get back and play great defense to make sure they don't get that, they don't move the spread.
Yeah, his team can't score and the other team can't score. So
He'll shut down both. Then he'll allow both teams to score. He's
the
the
guy can
conductor.
shut down 2 offenses
Right.
on the same night. How is that possible?
That's why he's the best defensive player of the year, because
It's
he can stop
unbelievable.
Giannis from scoring 30 any night.
There's not another player in the NBA that can do that. So
There's no other player that can stop Giannis from scoring 30 except Drew Holiday. So
no, change my defensive player of the year. Change it.
DPOY
That's
Drew.
it. Man.
Drew, he's the secondary lock. He's the vice president of the Defensive Player of the Year award.
One of a kind.
One of a kind. He's the best running mate Evan Mobley and Nick Claxton could ask for in their presidential Defensive Player of the Year campaigns.
Yep.
But on that note, I think we had a great summation of what could happen and what may transpire in the NBA season.
A great summation. Whoa.
Right?
That's a word right there.
It is. It is. And we wrap it up, and that is the word of the day, summation.
That is the word of the day.
Comment summation. If
44.
you were listening, comment summation in the comment section, and maybe I'll send you a Cam Thomas rookie card on Top Shot. That just
can't
proves
even
you were
spell
listening to 2 hours of ranting. But thank you guys. This was too generic, and we'll be back next Sunday. Have a good one.
Peace.